So since we finally finished Fatal Attractions, I figured it was time we went back in time a little ways and start going over the X-Cutioner song. When I turned in Fatal Attractions back to my library, I was like, I wonder if they have a collected trade of the X-Cutioner song. So I looked it up and I was like, yes, I don't have to go digging through all my back issues to pull out all the single issues. We can just do the collected trade. So the X-Cutioner song kicks off with Uncanny X-Men 294. If you're curious about what's been going on up to here, I like that they added a previous. So if you want to read that, pause it and check it out at your convenience, because Scott Lobdell really starts slapping together a lot of plot points that had happened from the Claremont era, and I believe it was when Willis Patachio was writing Uncanny X-Men around the Bishop time. But yeah, I remember seeing this cover for the first time when I was a kid, and I was like, why is Cable standing over Xavier like this? And I'm sure back in the day when this dropped, when we didn't really know all the characters as well as we do now, this had to have been something shocking. We open up with Warren and Stevie, and I love how it says he was born Warren Worthington III, heir to one of the world's largest private fortunes. Sometime during puberty, shortly after his 13th birthday, he grew huge feather wings from his back. After a brief career as a local Long Island superhero, he did what any confused adolescent mutant would do. He joined the X-Men. Over the years, he's lost all of his family, most of his fortune, and his original wings. The only thing which hasn't changed about him, even after his transformation into the shadow, wild-eyed creature of the night known as Archangel, is that Warren Worthington III is one heck of a date. That's how you introduce a character, instead of saying, oh, he's just a silly Billy wee hee 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 hee, like a lot of the mid-2000, 2010 comics did. Yeah. So I love how he comes to meet Stevie, and she's like, Warren, you're late? My apologies, Charlotte. I was going to say you're white. Ah, there you go, using that police training again. No wonder you passed your detective's exam. Nothing gets by you, Sergeant Jones. If you're through, I thought we were going to the One World Harmony concert in the park. Aren't you a little overdressed? I don't think so. But if you do, I'm sure I can arrange something. To the park, James. Very good, sir. You can say that again, James. I just love when Warren Worthington has that debonair, chivalrous charm and just plants a kiss on the woman he loves. And it's a shame that we don't see Stevie anymore, because she was a great character. And a lot of these women that the X-Men got with, like her, Opal, and then, of course, Leela Cheney, which we don't see anymore. All these awesome characters that have this potential. Now, remember, at this point, Bishop is still relatively new to the past. This scenario is unacceptable. There must be 75,000 people here. What's wrong, Sugar? They don't hold free rock concerts in the future? That's not what I'm complaining about, Rogue, and you know it. How are we supposed to maintain any security parameters around the professor under these conditions? Believe it or not, Bishop, the X-Men managed to function as the mutant team supreme long before you stumbled into Camp Xavier to tell us peons how it's done. So, essentially what's going on here is Leela Channing, Leela, you know who I'm talking about. She's doing a harmony concert here in Central Park. And essentially, Xavier is going to be a surprise speaker. He tells Leela, he goes, ready to listen to the call for brotherhood? Or no, I think it's her. I forget. I kind of get confused on this, but it says, ready to listen to the call for brotherhood, for peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants? Not at all, Leela. But if mankind waited for the right time to address the winds of change, it's unlikely we'd have crawled from the primordial ooze. So I just like that people that have made strides and changes in history always just kind of get out of their comfort zone to stand up. MLK, which was the analog for Professor Xavier and Magneto. Going back to the story, some mutant haters catch wind. They want to blow up the stage. But all of a sudden, see, I've got first dibs on Professor X. If it means anything, I may take a little longer, but he'll be just as dead. Overture, bringing the first part of the X-Cutioner song. Scott Lobdell, writer. Brandon Peterson, penciler. Terry Austin, inks. Chris Ianopoulos doing the lettering. Mike Thomas, colorist. Bob Harris, editor. And Tom DeFalco, editor-in-chief. Major players on this book. And around this time, apparently Scott had a major crush on Psylocke, I got to go back and reread that because, man, it caused some friction between him and Gene. He goes, "Hello, Earth to Scott Summers. You're thinking about her. I'm thinking of you, Gene. I'm always thinking of you. Don't lie to a telepath, Scott. It's demeaning." And then Bobby's bitching about how Opal says that him and her need to take a break, which sucks because they were a great couple. And Peter, he's just like, needs time alone to think things through. Peter is womanese, for we're broken up and I don't want to tell you. There's maybe a chance she's being sincere. I hadn't thought of that. Try, Robert. Meanwhile, read the name of these pork rinds Logan asked us to buy. My love life is coming apart at the seams, and I'm shopping for pork rinds. Life is unfair that way. You would know. Pete, you and I don't have a lot of history between us, but if you'd like to pour my heart out about my brother's suicide, you'll listen. Thank you, no. My grief, my shame, Torkovich, is a private matter. So we start to see the buildup in Peter, the resentment, the hurt, the pain that finally explodes during Fatal Attractions. Now, while Scott and Gene seem to have a moment where they kind of reconcile, enter Caliban. And they're thinking, wait a minute, you're one of us. What the hell's going on? Now, while that's happening, we're starting to feel this powder cake because we see Harry's hideaway being attacked. Peter and Bobby in this amazing, look at this artwork. This is the X-Men that I remember. This is how I always, for a good majority of growing up, this is how I always saw the X-Men because it was in all the books and to a degree in the cartoon. So, and all the promos, because I remember, God, I missed the 90s when there was X-Men merch everywhere. Pizza Hut, video games, anything you could imagine back in the day. So anyway, nostalgia aside, Harry's hideaway is blown up because Caliban attacks. And then Leela says, in the spirit of that unity of brotherhood and harmony, I'm proud to introduce a very dear friend of mine, Dr. Charles Xavier. Mutants, that Leela always pushed in the envelope. Give him a chance. Let him speak. You believe this? Shoot the mutant-loving gimp into the chair and he rode in on. And we see Cable. Smam. It's rare that a man has an opportunity to deliver his own eulogy. So we can see the hurt and hate that's going on with Caliban. And then all of a sudden, holy, someone shot Professor Xavier. Not just anyone, pal. Name's Cable. But the world will know me as the man who saved tomorrow. I just love how there's no moment to really breathe in this issue. The Four Horsemen attack. Warren at Central Park rips in, removes his image inducer to attack Cable. He doesn't have a moment. He goes, we should have taken you down after you shanghaied the first New Mutants, but the professor believed they'd come to their senses on their own. Not his first mistake, Archangel. Guaranteed it's not his last. Hurts, but he'll gonna have to do better than that. And while this attack's going on, Leela's screaming, "Oh God, Storm! Bishop, we're losing him." Should we never have hoped, never dared to dream? You've already lost him. You just don't realize it yet. Body slide by one. Celebration bound. And now we go to New Mexico. Woo woo. This is X-Force's new base. And they want to watch the concert, but then they come in to see what's happened. And they hear noted geneticist and would-be mutant rights activist Professor Xavier may or may not have survived an assassination attempt on his life. The sound kicks out. The silence is deafening. Yet, if they listen closely, these mutants indeed, every mutant on the face of the earth, might hear the faint strands of music just beyond the horizon. The X-Cutioner song has begun. Damn, I miss when comics were engaging like this, guys. It's just been too damn long that I miss the action. I miss that intensity that old school comics deliver that I am starting to kind of see in some newer books, but it's just, I don't feel that adrenaline like I used to when I would pick these up and you'd be like semi-shaking with excitement. And that's why stories like this, Fatal Attractions, The Age of Apocalypse, Onslaught, still hold the test of time. Because these were the books that made you, as they would say, go to your local comic shop and say, make mine Marvel. Because this was what you wanted to aspire to be. I remember I was watching, I think it's called The Image Revolution. I believe it's free on Tubi and on YouTube Movies. And it's talking about the creation of Image Comics. And Jim Lee was talking about how when he first broke into Marvel, he would say that, he practiced every single day, and then he would go every afternoon and run around the track by his house, and he would say, Miller, Byrne, meaning Frank Miller and John Byrne, just as a mantra to himself to get in that mindset, because he said he wanted to aspire to be on the level of John Byrne and Frank Miller. And it worked, because Jim Lee really came on the scene with X-Men and kicked ass. And that's why we all tend to crowd toward these books. So anyway, rant aside, if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and grab the individual issues, because they're polybagged and they come with kick-ass trading cards, which I may eventually go over because I have those somewhere. Or support your local library and see if they can bring this in, because my local library, they don't have a lot, but you can go under the system and they can have other branches ship you stuff and put it on hold for you. And that's how I was able to get my hands on this. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next subscribe, that way I get to upload content. You guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking about hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.